What is an argument? It is the ability to think and communicate using reasoning that separates people from animals and things. Using language, humans express their inner thoughts. However, not all of that is an argument. People can communicate their ideas in various ways, such as depictions, descriptions, explanations, and persuasion. There are times when what you hear or read is just opinions, not arguments. It is important to understand that arguing and disputing are not the same thing. Although the terms argument and dispute are often used interchangeably in everyday language, they have distinct meanings, especially when they are used in relation to logic, communication, and conflict resolution. One might, for example, dispute over some topic and start shouting swear words at one another without any argument. But it is also possible that one might have an argument to persuade the opponent. What exactly is an argument, and how do you determine if you have found one? An argument is a set of claims containing at least one conclusion and one premise. When people claim something and that claim is supported by another claim, the term conclusion refers to a supported claim. Premise refers to a claim supporting another claim. For example, he has a cat, so he is kind. Here are two claims. 1, he is kind. And 2, he has a cat. If you can see that number 2 supports number 1, then it is an argument where number 1 is the conclusion and number 2 is the premise. A process in which you see that number 2 leads to number 1 is called inference, and the word "so" indicating the connection between these claims is called inference indicators. What is an inference? The inference is a way to come to a conclusion based on evidence. By connecting bits and pieces of information, you can come up with a logical conclusion that isn't explicitly stated, but is supported by evidence. The inference is a key part of human reasoning, and it's everywhere. Here's what it's all about. 1. Extracting one information from another. 2. Moving from a claim to a conclusion. It's very common to make inferences without consciously thinking about them. For instance, if you see someone with an umbrella and wet clothes, you might assume that it's raining outside. Our ability to extend our understanding beyond direct observations and explicit statements is essential to critical thinking. An inference is logical if it's based on sound reasoning and evidence. Illogical inferences are those that do not logically follow from the premises or are based on insufficient or flawed evidence. When communicating, it is often necessary to infer the intended meaning or implications of what was said or written in addition to the literal meaning. Inferences can be classified into the following types. Deductive inference involves reasoning from general principles to specific cases. If the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. For example, all birds have feathers. A sparrow is a bird, therefore a sparrow has feathers. Inductive inference involves reasoning from specific cases to general principles. The conclusion is probable based on the premises. For example, observing that the sun has risen every morning leads to the inductive inference that the sun will rise tomorrow. Check out these examples. If I tell you that Charlotte is a spider, can you guess how many legs she has? You can tell that Charlotte has 8 legs by extracting information from one to another, which is called deductive reasoning. Consider the following scenario. If the market opened on Monday last week and last week before that, can you tell me what day the market would open next week? Suppose you know the conclusion should be the market opens on Monday. This means you are making inductive reasoning. How long should the statement be considered an argument? The length of an argument isn't fixed. If one statement contains a conclusion and a premise, it's an argument. Arguments can be short, such as, he has a cat, so he's kind. Or they can be as long as 120 pages, supporting the claim that cats are planning for world dominance. Here's what you need to know about argument length. Complex topics may require a longer argument, whereas simpler ones can be addressed effectively with a shorter argument. Depending on the purposes and context of the argument, its length will vary greatly. An argument in an academic paper will be longer and more detailed than an argument in a casual conversation. A topic that requires in-depth analysis, multiple points of evidence, and addressing potential counter-arguments will naturally make your argument longer. If the audience is knowledgeable or interested in the subject, they might expect a more detailed and lengthy argument. A good argument is clear and concise. It includes the necessary information without unnecessary repetition or overly complex explanations that could confuse the audience. Argument interpretation. When humans use language to communicate their thoughts, Sometimes those thoughts do not get across to the other party as they had intended. Let's say today is Friday, yesterday was Thursday. Does that count as an argument, and if so, what's the conclusion? At least 3 interpretations can be made of these claims. 1. Premise: today is Friday. Conclusion: yesterday was Thursday. 2. Premise: today is Friday. Conclusion: yesterday was Thursday. 3. There are no arguments in these claims, just a list of affirmative statements that describe the facts. As you can see, if there are no indicators, it is hard to guess what a statement means. By using inference indicators, it will be possible to interpret whether a statement is an argument or not. It is the responsibility of the one making the statement to make the statement as clear as possible to prevent confusion. Inference indicator. An inference indicator is a word or phrase used in language to suggest an inference is being made. They are linguistic clues that help identify whether a statement is a premise or a conclusion. Here are some common conclusion indicators. The following are some common premise indicators. However, the above are just examples and not all indicators of inference that exist. We need to have knowledge and linguistic sensitivity to recognize inference indicators and be aware of when reasoning is being made.